Hi everyone, here's what's bothering me today.
Member for Vancouver Kingsway.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are experiencing the worst public health crisis in a century, one that will only end with an effective treatment or vaccine. Yet, without a public pharmacare system, they have no assurance that they will have universal access to these life-saving medications. Yesterday, the NDP government in British Columbia announced that any COVID-19 vaccine will be provided at no cost to British Columbians. Will the Government of Canada ensure that all Canadians receive free vaccinations against COVID-19 once they are developed?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, I think it's important that all Canadians have access to a vaccine when the vaccine is available. I'll be working with my colleagues at the provincial and territorial level to ensure that we can ensure vaccines are available to Canadians to help combat the pandemic.
That is Canadian Healthcare Minister Patty Hajdu not confirming that the Liberal government of Canada isn't going to charge Canadians for a vaccine for this pandemic. I thought we lived in the land of universal health care, or am I gravely mistaken? Now, while it's true that certain things aren't covered by Canada's healthcare policies, so we still have to go to the dentist, we still have to pay for our medications and things like that. But this is different. This is a pandemic that is holding the world hostage and threatening the lives of potentially millions. The idea of a government charging its citizens, many of whom do not have means, for a vaccine to get over this pandemic is beyond reprehensible. I genuinely struggle to find the right collection of words to convey just how callous and sinister and just borderline evil that is. And yet, there they are, neither confirming nor denying that they're going to make us pay for a vaccine. If the Liberals decide to charge us for a vaccine, that should be the last thing that they are remembered for before being condemned to electoral oblivion. No party, whether it's on the left wing or the right wing, should charge anyone for a vaccine to get over this pandemic. The thought alone speaks of greed and valuing of dollars above actual lives. It's just so disgusting and shameful and reprehensible. It's gross. It's gross, and I hate it. And everyone should hate this. What if, some poor little granny and welcome to capitalism. So, the vaccine, in order to recoup some government expenses, the vaccine is going to cost, let's just say, $500. Is someone on old age security going to be able to meaningfully afford that? Or is a family member going to have to pick up the slack in terms of cost for that? And then you also have that family member who has to get it for themselves. And potentially they're the only breadwinner in their family, which could be maybe they're taking care of their mom or their dad, or they have a wife and 2 kids. And all of a sudden that's thousands of dollars during a pandemic where they may not have full employment, if any employment at all. And they have to either take out a loan or ask someone else. And just the thoughts that come out of how this absolutely screws over so many Canadians is what's bothering me today. The fact that the Liberal Minister of Health couldn't say, yes, of course we're going to have a vaccine for all Canadians, and of course no one's going to have to pay for it. We'll put a wealth tax or something, especially since the wealthy in Canada have made $37 billion since this pandemic began. They haven't lifted a finger, and they've raised $37 billion. And people have the audacity to say, how are we going to pay for all of this? There's the answer. That and more. And the fact that our current government is still too cowardly to just openly say, one way or another, that we are or are not going to have to pay for a vaccine, and that they are or are not going to tax the wealthy. It speaks to liberal spinelessness, which I am absolutely done with, and all Canadians should be done with it. But instead of thinking, let's go for Team Blue because that'll fix everything, let's actually go with a party like the NDP, which cares about the little guy and has fought for a lot of the benefits that we currently enjoy in this pandemic. I made another video a while ago about how we want change. Canadians, broadly speaking, want this broad transformation of society, and yet we keep voting for the two parties who will never do that. And so that, on top of everything else that has happened this week, is what's bothering me today. But the most bothersome thing is the Liberals being just so incredibly spineless and gelatinous and cowardly that they can't even say to Canadians' faces in the House of Commons, they can't find the nerve to say that either we will or will not have to pay for a vaccine to get over this pandemic. And that is what's bothering me today.